You are now entering Maximum Driftcast, the only drifting podcast hosted by a Spanish soccer mom, a 30-year-old silver-haired fox going on 60, and finally, a 200-pound bowl of spaghetti with chimichanga arms.
The champions, we are the champions.
Well, you know what's funny is like when you originally introducing us, you're like, we know a little about drifting, and instantly I was thinking of maybe with all of our brains combined, we know enough is about one good person in drifting. So,
but what do the good people know about drifting?
See, that's the thing is I think as a group we should be able to at least come up with one thing.
One drift fact.
As an individual, I think it's going to be tough on us.
So the three of us pretty much makes a one decent
guy
drift.
about drift guy, probably like a mid pro-am driver.
Wonder triplet
Nice.
powers activate.
There you go.
Nice.
Yay!
Hey, we're here, guys. So, anyways,
Yeah, so this is our first drift cast. It's a drift podcast that the three of us are doing. You got me right now on the talking. That's me, Sam, aka Drift Idiot, and to my right we've got Corey,
hey guys, Corey Hosford,
long time
listener, long time caller.
and that beautiful, charming Spanish laugh you heard from the other side of the room. That's Paco.
Hi guys.
Hey,
How's it
Paco.
going? Hi Corey.
It's like I haven't seen
Hi,
you in a
Sam.
while. How have you
I
been?
know. I've been good. How about you, man?
Do you know what? I couldn't be better. I'm sitting here with you guys drinking some good old tea, and
How are your hemorrhoids?
they're flaring up right now.
So we're doing this drift podcast thing. This is our first time doing it, and we're gonna spill all of the beans. The drift
dude,
bean jar
man.
it was upright before,
Wow.
and now it's about to be tipped.
What was that, Corey?
I don't know, but I'm a little lightheaded after watching that.
I don't know. I feel like we're partying a little too hard right now.
I thought we were gonna get better from that.
I don't know. Maybe. Are we better?
I don't know. I'm just really lightheaded right now.
I'm pretty heavy-headed.
Why do you guys have? What? So this is for our audio only listeners. These guys have.
Yeah, no, we couldn't hear anything. Oh, look at that. It's Christopher the Forsbergs.
What's up, dudes?
Hey, do you
There
know
you
Chris?
go.
Do you sound crystal
Do you hear
clear?
me? You don't hear Sam, right? He doesn't know how to work a computer still?
No, Sam.
Can you not hear me?
No, wait. You're back, Sam. Welcome back. Hey,
thank you.
No, we've missed you the past 99 episodes, and we're glad you're back.
Oh, great, cool. Yeah, so this is our 100th episode, right?
Yep.
Hey, congratulations! High five,
Hey,
Paco. High five,
that's,
Chris. High five, Sam.
Nice work,
High
guys.
five,
Forsberg.
Big balls.
And full disclosure, we tried to get June Mang for a special guest, but he had other things to do, so we had to settle for Chris Forsberg, who was our
Wow.
Second to June.
God,
That needs to be a
damn.
sticker.
2nd of June.
So we-
Well, June always wins, so.
We haven't talked to Chris in actually a while, so that helps. That works out.
And fun fact-
he was on the first ever Maximum Driftcast, and now 100 episodes later, here we are. So I figured
The
Chris
circle.
would be a good
The circle's complete.
guy to talk to.
Yeah, apparently I've just been doing this whole thing for far
circle's
too
complete.
long.
Hey, that's true.
This is something that has been in the works for 50 weeks now. We've been doing this for 50 weeks straight. No, 100 weeks. What am I talking about? My mouth is
50
Yeah, 100 episodes.
100 episodes.
And
Like, what are you talking about?
100
we've
weeks.
done it for 2 years and 3
Cor-
months.
No, Corey's just not too bright.
No, I'm not too bright, and I'm really lightheaded, Brian. This is really catching up to me. No, these are our party hats. We actually ransacked Paco's grandma's house and found these party hats. So this is what we're celebrating with. We actually had pizza a little earlier. We're on a strict diet, as you guys know. We're training for this next round, Orlando. So things are just coming together. So we're just working on it.
Very
Yep.
good. Very good.
How about you guys? What are you guys doing? Why are you separated by a line?
Because apparently, even after 100 episodes, this show still can't get proper audio equipment, and we're on some headphones on our phones at our rest, but in separate rooms because we
Wait.
talk in the same room.
You do have some sick gym equipment, though, behind
Yeah.
you.
I do. So this has actually been a common theme when I have to record from RS. I'll record in Cell Block Turk, or at least make an appearance in a Cell Block Turk.
Wait,
So,
does this mean like if you extend your hand out of screen, like that hand will appear on Chris's head?
No, he's upstairs on the other side of the RS house.
Lounging on the couch. We made Sam go back into the closet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we heard you haven't been working much lately, Forrest. It looks like you've been chilling all day, just kind of kicking back, relaxing. Have you been?
Yeah, pretty much doing nothing, just taking a break. But no, it's I did have a pretty chill weekend actually. We did some Grand Prix fun, hung out with Jared, Chris Reese, owner of the Pike. Went out on his boat. We went back to the Pike, partied with them, and went to a show last night. So yeah, did take 2 days off or so and have some fun. But we're back at RS. We're back to work and getting a fresh motor in the car for the East Coast swing.
There you go.
Sounds like
Do you
good
keep your
times.
car over on
Yeah.
the East Coast the whole time? Do you dump it at a shop and?
Yeah. So we'll drive it out to do Orlando, and then we'll leave it there, Atlanta, roll up, do Wall, and then it'll come back. So, after Long Beach, I mean, everything was good, except for clutch incident, of course. But engine, drivetrain, everything was good, and we're actually putting in a motor that we got from AMS that is higher revving. So it'll put us up to about 8,800 RPM, which
Nice.
is pretty awesome. So the motor that was in there from before is our engine from Irwindale last year. So it's got a little bit of runtime on it, and it's fine, but it's now going to be our spare. We're going to put the fresh one in for hitting the road. So
Paco, how many engines have you changed recently?
How many engines? I mean, I pulled a lot of engines. I don't know how many I actually put into cars.
You just pull
they
them
kind
out
of end up on the ground in the garage, and that's
Yeah.
about it.
They found a very nice spot,
and then just
and they
hibernate.
start accumulating dust.
Well, the longer you let the engine sit, the better it's going to be. It just cures. You have to let the engine cure after running it for so many years, and then you'll be able to put it back in. And it should be operating much better.
Well, what happens is like all the dust that accumulates pretty much helps sealing any kinds of leaks.
That's
And-
why you bury them.
Yeah, it's better for a lot better compression.
Well, you guys know
tests.
about dust toning, right?
Oh yeah, you just spool it up,
Yeah.
throw some dirt on the
Yeah,
intake.
let some dust get in there, and
Yep.
then once you go to fire back up, it just reseats all the rings, and you're good to go.
Yeah, dude. So that's dust toning. So if you guys here in Arizona, throw a couple rocks in there, rehone the walls a little bit, and you'll be getting some Forsberg power here in no time. And another humble brag, guys. It's just a reminder. This is the 100th episode, so I want to see how many times we can brag about that. Because that
Brag about
is
what?
100 Brian. It's 100 episodes today, dude.
What?
Yeah, I didn't know if you knew that or not. We actually been planning all week what we should be doing, and we came up with a bunch of ideas, and we didn't execute one of them. So
You know what's funny?
what's funny?
Remember that we started with John Bon Jovi's audio guy,
Oh my God.
and look where we are now.
We're just outside of Bon John's studio. We're actually moved into Bon John's studio.
Yep. We have our very own Big Balls Brian.
Big Balls Brian came on. Let's go a little bit of history here. So we found out that Big Ball started on episode, 64?
64 with Noriaro.
Noriaro.
Oh, look
yeah.
at that.
I think people really tuned in for that one because they found out that you were coming. So I appreciate you joining the team, Brian.
Oh, I'm glad I can help.
No.
That was also I think the first episode on our new studio.
That's right.
There was it? That's
Yeah.
right.
That's not in my house.
Yeah, because we didn't have enough people manning the guns over here. So Big Balls had to
Controls.
step up. The controlium.
Brian is very good at controlling controls.
I really
On
want to
video
ask
games?
Forsberg a bunch of questions, but I feel like we should talk about anything cool we've done in the past. What has this
Yeah,
show
that's
done?
fine. We could just talk about old episodes like people never heard them before.
Yeah, well, that's probably happened.
Whatever, Forsberg. What's the coolest thing you've ever done?
Oh yeah, get him, Sam.
I was on this podcast one time about 50 weeks ago, from what I recall.
According to Corey.
Yeah.
According to
Well,
Corey's
for
math.
50 weeks ago, we had our first episode with Forsberg.
Well, early on, we got so many facts wrong that we'd have you.
Oh, that's
call in
right.
Pretty often.
Let's
to
go
give
into
us
that a
Forsberg
little bit.
facts.
Let's go into that
Because,
a little bit.
Almost every week we'd get something wrong, and we'd have to have you call in to correct us. And now it's not so much that we're getting things right; it's just that I think we kind of ran out of the ability to have you call in every week to correct us because we were getting too much wrong.
Yeah, it didn't really get much better. I just kind of let you guys have it. I'm like, well, they're just not going to learn, and they don't seem to want to learn, so we're just going to let them go.
No, we are actually going to start the segment. So we were when this show was originally starting, we were like kind of figuring out, should we do a segmented show where we have different topics and have it very structured, or we have it very loose, which, as you guys can see, it's probably the loose any podcast can ever get because we don't really have a plan going into it. But Forsberg, I believe, were you messaging Sam, tell him like, dude, like this is some of your facts wrong, and then they were like, well, dude, there's a whole a segment there, facts with Forsberg.
Facts.
And
Christopher the Facts Forsberg.
Yeah, the facts. I'm trying to remember what we got wrong.
Oh, dude, everything.
What also started with the idea that we've mentioned it multiple times, but also each time we mention it, Chris can't actually recall what we asked him to do. Chris has an uncanny ability for recalling Formula Drift facts. Like more specifically, like you could name a year, and he could recall who was on the podium first, second, third. But each time I put him on the spot.
I'm not as good at it anymore. There's been too many events.
Well, there's been too many events, and so I can't even put you on the spot anymore. But that's where the source came from, though, because he had a uncanny ability to remember positions and what have you.
Well, it was also because you guys have 0 record pre-2012.
Right.
So
We're all
it's like
very new to
FD didn't exist except for the last 4 years when you guys started this thing.
5 now. We know of 5 years that Corey
When
was
you
there.
started this thing. Oh, yeah, 50 weeks ago. That's right.
50
It was a
weeks
year
ago, 5 years ago when we started this podcast. Whichever came first, I don't recall.
I'd always get the year wrong that I went to my first FD event, Forsberg. That was another one.
Be like, oh, back in 2002, I went to my first FD event. No, you didn't.
It wasn't around yet, dude. It wasn't around
No,
yet.
they weren't there.
Well, but think about it. Think about the product. Let's talk about the positive. It's been 2 years.
Yeah, it's been.
And now we're hosting the halftime show. So give us 2 more years. We're going to be hosting the whole event.
Yeah. I mean, I've already kind of started to enclose inside Jared's personal space, which is not a room. But, I'm going to get closer and closer. And eventually I'm just going to slowly push him off of the judge's tower. And then we can sit in that hot seat.
Corey?
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, it looks
Corey,
like
Corey, you just got a lot more relaxed. You can
Oh
come in here
no!
out.
I think he just let.
I'm
he
really
just let some
debating.
wind out.
No, I'm contemplating here. I'm going through the chat, and Alex Pfeiffer always decides to tune in, and I'm like just over this guy. Honestly,
He's kind of like our number 1 fan. He's on every
no,
episode.
I'm just straight up over this guy. So Alex, I'm over you, and I'll just leave it at that. But anyways, next segment. Let's move on from that wash up.
Back to actual drifting and drifters.
Yeah. What are we talking about now?
So, let's talk about. Remember what? How was the first episode when we were talking over each other, and you were totally hating being our guest?
You guys are steamrolling. You were just so excited to have a microphone in front of you that like none of you would stop talking. And so like I just remember the first episode. I'm sitting in my house back in the East Coast and just like, all right, I'll just wait till these guys, settle down and fire it up, and maybe we'll get the chat. But who knows? No, it was. It definitely was funny, and it was, a new experience for sure, and it was fun to be a part of it. So, but yes, you guys have been getting a lot better.
Well, outside of that, let's go back a little bit.
Except for Sam's audio. It's still
well, hold on. Let's go back a little bit. Sam, let's go back a little bit.
Well, we got him a new console, but pretty soon he's gonna get it installed. You'll see.
No, let's go back a little
I think we
bit.
just need to set up a studio here at RS because I don't seem to leave his place much, anyways, these days. So I might as well just get a bed and a studio set up here, and we can actually get people talking out of here. But that's for another day.
Well, we should also have another segment called the First for Forsbergs, because Sam, we've done a lot of random stuff with Forsberg always being the test dummy from all our videos that we've done prior to this. Forsberg was always who are we going to ask? Well,
he was the first and last person to think that Corey would be a good teammate for Formula Drift. So that was the first.
That was a good
from
first
Chris.
and last. That worked out. Now we see everybody. Forsberg. We did the tandem bike before anybody else did the tandem bike. Chelsea and Vaughn just did it. Right,
Chelsea and Vaughn are riding around on a tandem bicycle.
Wow.
They own this
So
thing. Sorry,
we've done
pal.
a lot
We
before,
already did that.
and that was just first for Forsberg. So that's anytime we have a bad idea, we usually come to Forsberg first because he's a team player. He's a team player. Every now and then.
Actually,
hey man, I'm down the clown, dude.
Hey, ICP for life.
Was Corey the first actual teammate you had, or do you?
ETC.
Or do you actually?
What's that?
Was Corey your first
No,
teammate?
he was teammates with June.
It was. I guess I would say Corey was the first. Yeah, like
nailed it.
And fun fact,
Boom.
Sam, we did help June back in 2009.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Oh my God.
Oh, okay. I thought you were being sarcastic.
No, that Drift Alliance class photo thing surfaced again, which is hilarious because it shows the upperclassmen and June is on there for sure.
Yeah, 2009, I towed him to like half of the rounds, and we had his car at our shop, and we were helping to like gear it up and clean it up. And I think that was his first year in FD, I want to say 2009. And yeah, we're just, introduced him to Sam's over at Sam's Autoland and Saban and some of our other partners to help get his car geared up and running. And, we just, I've just been doing that for a while. Just people coming in, they need help getting their cars going, and, it's fun.
Whose car was worse? Mine?
Yours.
God.
Hands down.
I don't know if you knew how much research and development went into that thing before we sent it to you, but then you guys just made it all backwards. You took us from the future by changing all that stuff.
Wood screws, dude. That's all I got to say.
It's
Wood screws.
quick, fast, easy. You can get them anywhere. Any hardware store has them. Sometimes finding some bolts and nuts and hardware is pretty difficult at times.
You can get all kinds of different lengths,
Because he used Woodson in his fuel tank, right? That was the story.
Yep.
And that's no lie either, huh? You guys think we're
here's
lying.
the deal. If
I don't
the
know.
screws-
Yeah, I don't even know how much we should talk about that. It's
I love it.
pretty
you know what?
ridiculous.
That's rushing to get to Long Beach, and you just start self-tapping everything together. Literally. Dustin, you know what, Dustin? No. So I'll tell you this. So I hate wood screws, believe it or not, for the amount. But Dustin, the crew chief, second runner-up of the year, which got second place to Osbo, he would tell me if he goes, "Hey Corey, do you mind if I Swiss cheese the fuel cell?" I'm like, "What does Swiss cheese mean?" Well, anyways, what Dustin would do would just start driving wood screws and make little Swiss cheese holes. So Swiss cheesing is actually using self tappers to create holes to support things. So
using the self tapper as a drill.
Yeah, so we Swiss cheese that car pretty good. No, but it came a long way, actually. That first year was definitely like a learning curve for me. And the big advantage to team up with Forsberg, obviously Forsberg was like a big OG. Dude's been in drifting forever. And so for us, it was like, maybe we should learn how to do this correctly, at least learn how to set up a car and learn how to operate. And even at that time, it's like, man, running at this level, Forsberg operates at a level that not many other drivers compete at as far as just working all the time. And Sam, now that you're with him, you can probably see they work nonstop. That's one thing I really learned from this whole thing is just how much more work happens outside of racing rather than actually at the track. And that's really where you start separating how people can work or, compete in Formula Drift and how people can. It's the people who are willing to put in the most work. So that was really the biggest thing that I was taking away from working with you guys, just how much effort really goes into running a good operation.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot of work. It's like you say. And, it's however much effort you put in is usually what you get out of it. And like Scott, Scott.
Good Uncle Scott.
Uncle Scott. Yeah, he always says, you win the races in the garage. And it's true. It's it's the amount of prep you do. It's the amount of effort, you put into it, the engineering, getting your spares together, things like that. It is, races are won in the garage, and very rarely is it just like, the wild card things kind of falling into place. It does happen in drifting, especially is that type of motorsport where, the little grassroots car that's, holding it together and throwing down. Long Beach especially is one of those tracks that usually lets someone shine through. But in the end, you just got to put your time in.
So since this episode's a flashback episode, we're going through the history of drifting. We're going through the history of Driftcast. We're going through the history of Formula Drift. We all know you come from riches. We all know that you're just filthy loaded, and you don't even have to compete. You can retire right now because you're just so rich. But let's hear some of the stories, or tell us what's some things that you had to do to actually compete. I'm sure you have some wild stories from traveling, staying up night, not having a car, rebuilding a car. What are some things that you have done to make it to the race on time? Or what have you sacrificed? Like, what's some Forsberg stories where it's like, what's some history here? Give us some fact. Give us some old school, like, hard-hitting, what have you done to make shit happen?
Well, it's not even, you don't even have to go old school. I mean, even this year, it's like 15 hours a day for weeks straight, and just getting everything done. And that happens every year. Every year we're working as much as we possibly can leading up to Long Beach. And usually we're set after that. And then we're just kind of like maintaining throughout the season. But Other than that, I mean, yeah, like it's like Sam can tell you, like drift garage type stuff. Like when we're working on the builds, we have a super tight timeline. Same thing, like 15, 16 hours a day, just nonstop. You know, just only stopping to pass out for like 3 or 4 hours and getting right back to it. You know, that goes outside of FD as well. Like, yes, we put in a lot of effort into FD, but we also have to put in a lot outside of it so that we have the support in FD. And so you still have to bring that 110% effort into that. Old school stories, I mean,
I want to hear. I want to hear the stories.
Like all-nighters and
dude.
Like
I want to hear
some of the funny things. Go ahead.
I want to hear the Forsbergs before the NOS sponsorships. I want to hear the Forsbergs before the big titles. How did Forsberg get to be Chris Forsberg, and what's some things and hurdles that you've ran into that got you to the point to where you are now? Like, obviously, you getting into this, you didn't have a big decal on your door. You're probably just some dude that just bought an S13 or an S chassis and went out there. What was kind of the way you were brought into where you are now? And what did you do?
Well, I remember
I
Chris's first hurdle. Hold on, he was running track and field in high school.
That was my first hurdle. I tripped over.
Literally. Was in 6th grade.
All right, after that one.
Yeah. They, I mean, yeah, like I definitely did get lucky with timing, right?
Right.
Because I got into the sport so early. Import drag racing was dying, and sponsors were trying to go somewhere. So I did get some support quickly in drifting back in like 2004 and 5 when FD first started. But you know, with that, there was a lot of turnover those first couple of years. There's a lot of guys coming in saying that they could drift, saying they could drive, or you know, people from other disciplines or just drifters in general coming into FD, and they would be like in and out in 2 years. Just like it was a tough time because there were so many people that were just trying to convert and run you know, drifting programs. But yeah, back before all that, like 2000, like 1 and 2, like when we were first like building our RX-7s and learning how to drift and running East Coast events over at Englishtown, things like that. I mean, I used to build my cars in my parents' barn on a dirt floor, and it was fucking freezing out there. And so we were just like working all off season, wearing, you know, whatever we could find. We have a fire like in my driveway. We would do stupid things like that. When I moved out to California, I had an apartment, and then my friend who you may have met named Tony Angelo moved in, and we started to party a lot, and we got thrown out of that apartment. And so and so we kind of bounced around a couple spots in the early year, and then we eventually we started crashing at Rotary Secret 7. It was a store that we used to work at. It was an online Rotary like RX-7 store, and up in City of Industry. And so like myself and Tony and our buddy Pete Varley, who helped us make the first DVDs.
Nice.
Pete drives out across the country. He's like, guys, I'm almost there. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, where's the house? We're like, it's here. And he comes to the shop. Like, what are you guys talking about? Like, yeah, like we live here. And so like, freaking pull up a sheet and grab a spot on the floor because we're doing this.
No way.
And you did not hear about this?
No. Did you live on a shop building your car?
Yeah, back in 2004, first year of FD.
So you just stayed in the shop, had your little sleeping bag in your cot, and decided to camp out for a year building race cars.
It was well, they had like a finished room in the back. It wasn't just like sleeping on concrete. So there was you know, it had like a little like lounge like room in the back. And like me, Pete, and Tony were all living in that. It was one room. And we kept our cars in the warehouse behind that, and we would work on them there. And yeah, that was 2004, first year of FD. So we did that through the summer, and like guys like Ken Gucci, Andy Yen, Alex Pfeiffer, who you just pushed away.
Our number one fan.
Yeah, our number one supporter.
They used to come by.
He pushed himself away.
You know, yeah, they'd come by and hang out at the shop, and we'd just like, you know, fuck around and drive our cars around, things like that, have a good time, have scooter races around the building. So that was fun, keeping ourselves entertained and, you know, living the rent-free life, the shop life for a little while, saving some money there. And from that point, we moved into another apartment. That was chill, and then Tony bailed on us and moved in with someone. And so we had to find another spot. And that's when we moved into Camp Snakebite, which is Lindsey Ross's old house.
No way.
And
Damn.
yeah, we
So
lived,
you and Lindsay go way
and then
back
me and
then.
Pete Varley, we lived in the garage of that house. So 3 walls, one was a removable wall, and same thing. It would get freezing at night and things like that. But we lived there through 2005 FD when I'm driving the Falcon S15. And me and Pete Varley, we edited Bad as Hell, our first DVD, in that garage.
No way.
Yeah, man.
So it wasn't always that easy. It's not like Rockstar or Nos called you up when they said, "Hey, Forsberg, we see you making a DVD. We're on board."
Here, have money.
So okay, so you've obviously had the garage living, and it sounds like you guys are just hammering. Dylan's probably hammering some randomness.
Yeah, tell Dylan to shut the fuck up. What's he doing?
Yeah. Fucking hammer, dude.
No. So obviously, for the past couple of years, you were literally living in garages, either at that RX-7 shop or your buddy's garage, to make ends meet. At what point did you figure out, do you know what? I have a shot at this. I can potentially start making a living off doing competitions or competing in Formula Drift. At what year and did you see that transition happen, and how big was that transition?
The funny part was, because that was 04 and 05, right? So it was the first years of FD, and we were just like living like fucking like just like punk rockers. They were just like living on the road, right? We had a crash pad, and then we were just like go out on tour and go to these shows, which was drift events.
Right.
And it was that was first year of Falcon. Me, Tony, Hampton, Vaughn, and a couple of the other guys. We were the first blue and green cars, the first Falcon blue and green cars in 2005. And so the very first year they debuted that, they put all of DA on the team. And so we were just like, this is it, man. We killed it. We nailed it. We're Falcon Motorsports drivers. Although we didn't have a dime to our name, we were just like had enough money to, buy some McDonald's like once a day and just wait for the next, trip to like a drift show off or FD or whatever it was. And so like that was cool. That was just like, we like thought we made it even though we were living shitty, type thing. But it still felt great. We're like,
no,
whatever,
for sure.
This is all we need. And people are paying for us to go to drift events. And so we did that. Like that went on for 05 and 06. 06 is when we got a little more budget. We had Sears come on. That's when I built the V8 car, the first one. And me and Kevin built that in his shop ourselves. And that year was awful. It was terrible. That was like my first year with just endless car problems. We tried to build a car that no one knew how to build. It was the first V8 swap into a car that didn't come with one, actually. And so for FD, that is.
Right.
And so we were having all kinds of issues with it. Like the balance was terrible. We didn't know anything about spring rates or whatever. And it would just spin out, bottom out, and everything else. And so had a terrible year that year. And through just a bunch of miscommunication and just having a bad season and all this other stuff, I lost my Falcon deal. And so that's when, I don't want to say we hit rock bottom. It wasn't rock bottom, but we all of a sudden had nothing, right?
Right.
And it was 2 months before FD was starting back up. And I had maybe $3 or $4 grand worth of endorsements to try and run a full FD season after doing it for 3 years.
Oh.
And so we're just all right, what do we do? And so we heard that Maxxis wanted to come in. So we put all our eggs in that basket. I painted my car orange, and they gave us a couple bucks, and we went. The first event was Long Beach, right? And we went out there. We did okay, and then it was the East Coast swing, and we packed up the truck and headed to the East Coast without enough money to come back. We just because we spent the rest of it on the car and then all the budget, and I had to buy a truck and trailer to be able to get to the events. And so we just rolled the dice and just headed for Atlanta. And we started kicking ass. We got first place in Atlanta, and then we just started having great results. And we ran our 2007 season off of winnings.
No way.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, we actually won more money that year than we made in sponsorships.
See, that's the thing. At that point, a lot of people are, question, should we make that sacrifice of, we don't have enough money to get back, but what do we have to lose? And it's being in that position and obviously willing to make that sacrifice, knowing that, hey, we may be stuck out there to next round, and then we'll have to find gas money to get up there. But yeah, that's the type of Forsberg
we have enough to
facts.
get to Atlanta, and then there's probably enough to get to the Northeast, and like I got family up there. Well, I'm like, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out, type thing. And we did. It paid off, and that was our double down year. That was the year when we didn't have anything. I don't want to say anything. We had a very, very small budget, and guys like Reese and Sam were running in like the 6-figure plus range, with like Red Bull sponsorships and stuff. And we're just like, I had my deal with NOS actually. My deal with NOS started in 2006, and it was just like
And how
handful of
did
cash
that
and
come about?
Very, very small potatoes, like barely enough to pay for registration for FD type thing.
Right. How did that come about though?
What's that?
How did that the NOS deal come about? Because obviously you were switching through tire brands. You had a little bit of endorsements. I think SSR is your longest running sponsor.
Yeah. I was working with SSR and Tanabe. I've been working with them since 2003. They were like my first partner when I got that Signal Auto deal, and I was driving with the Signal Auto twins. And that's like when I really thought things were gonna work out, and that lasted like 3 months. And they were just like, we're not gonna run FD; it's too expensive. And so, met the NOS people in 2006, and we had like a small deal with them. There's like a little logo on the side of the car, and then going into 2007, that was the only money I had. Like I said, just like barely enough to pay for registration. Which is like a couple grand for FD. And then I got the Maxxis deal, which was like, okay, now I can pay for, I can get a small trailer, pay for gas, hotels, and be able to get to these events, right?
Right.
And, be able to buy parts, finish the car. And that was it was like, what, 20 grand, something like that. So it wasn't much. And so we ran that season, like I said, and we started winning, started getting money back, and NOS and Maxxis and all those people kind of saw that commitment that we did, and they all I don't even know what the number would be, but that's when we came out in 2008 was the year that we came back with the big rig. We had Maxxis support. We were running Maxxis tires support program. And we had the primary sponsor, NOS Energy Drink.
And did you even have Sears?
It was just
too?
like I say, sometimes you just gotta freaking go all in. And
So that's okay. So you 2006, 2008ish started getting these sponsors. Were you reaching out to them? Were you proactively always searching for these guys, or what was that trigger that got you the connections, or what did you have to do? Was it people coming to the track and seeing drifting, or being interested in because Chris Forsberg's winning? Was it the DA videos?
It was a bit of people coming to FD. So because, like I said, import drag racing was dying. Yeah, we were trying to reach out to people, but we're just a bunch of kids, and we didn't have any of these contacts, so we didn't know how to get sponsorships or find these people. Everything was within the industry that we had previously. We're talking tire brands, parts companies, things like that. And to get someone like NOS, they were heavily involved with hot import nights and things like that. So they were coming from the very end of drag racing. They were barely involved with drag racing, but hot import nights was, crazy. Fast and Furious was, through the roof at that time. And so they were in the import scene, right? They came in through Holly, where they they licensed out the NOS logo, made a drink to compete with, Red Bull and all those others. And so once they, then they got brought in with Coca-Cola, and so that's when they actually started to have a little bit of money to throw around, and that was that same very year that we, like I said, went all in, and so it was good. The timing was great, and if it wasn't for that 2007 season, I probably wouldn't. I don't want to say I wouldn't be driving, but chances are that we might not be in FD.
Wow. That's pretty crazy. Before you continue, can you lower your camera a little bit? We have your face on.
Talking about me?
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Oh, I'm moving around.
Yeah, no, it's all good. No, it's all good. It happens.
So pretty much 2007 was the year.
Yeah, I'd say so for sure. Oh. That was the big turning point.
So I would say, let's imagine if that wouldn't have happened. What do you think? Like, where do you see yourself? Like, what would you been doing? I mean, probably you will be still driving, but maybe not professionally. But or like, where do you see?
Professional rollerblader was the thing.
Yeah, strictly inline skating profession. But I'd probably still be in the car, the automotive industry. I like working on cars. I like building them. I've been working on my own car since 99, 98. So yeah, I don't know, like I said, what would have happened with me and FD if we didn't have that successful 2007, which rolled into, getting primary sponsors and having a self-sustained program. Because before that, it was just dumping everything in every year. And I know, I'm preaching to the choir for a lot of people that are listening to this because, a lot of other drivers, Pro-Am guys, Pro 2 guys, it's like, yes, it feels like this endless pit that you're just throwing all your money into. And it is, what it is. It's racing. You got to put all your time in, all your money in, and just be at the right place at the right time and just know, just not to say when enough is enough, but you got to know like what you're capable of and like how hard to push, because some people, jump up to the pro ranks too soon, and that's when they fall out because they think like I got it, even though they don't, just because like they earned, a spot in Pro 1. It doesn't mean that you necessarily have to go to Pro 1. That's what a lot of these drivers make that mistake. Like Chelsea, I always use as the perfect example of someone that came through the ranks in the later years of drifting, where there was no Pro 2, so myself and a bunch of other guys helped start XDC, which was essentially that Pro 2 series. You know about that, Corey.
You know about that, yep.
And, so you were getting, your licensing through that as well.
Right.
And so Chelsea just went and just, like, beat the crap out of everyone for, like, 3 years.
Even Corey.
So, no, Corey, you beat him, right?
Yeah, I beat him in Seattle.
That was like Corey's highlight.
That was like my second event ever, and I take out Denofa. I qualified 16th, and he qualified first.
Corey,
and I remember that because
then you took out Chelsea.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
you could have been driving RTR Mustangs right now.
I could be, but instead I went NOS 350Z, so I'm more happy with that.
But yeah, there's not too many people that do it that way. It's like they kind of just go like one step into the next. Like they go from Pro-Am to Pro 1 in 3 years, and that's just far too soon for my opinion. Like you see the guys, like they struggle, like they're building the car so rapidly to run in the next class that they're not even getting any seat time and to understand what the car is capable of and how to handle it. And that's like where you see a lot of guys fumble and they might crash, and if they do crash, and it's like they don't have the money to fix it. And so it's sad, like I don't want to see guys just like come in, wreck, and leave drifting, like that's not cool. But
and I know
they're
that,
also in a rush because there's so many.
You don't get a chance to watch Long Beach, of course, or at least all of it. But we had said on our halftime show and after the fact was that the Pro 1 rookies at Long Beach were the best rookies in Pro 1 we've seen. Like I'm sure you drove behind or saw a couple of runs from the new guys into Pro 1, and they were definitely better equipped than anyone else we'd seen so far. And granted, every Pro 1 new guy to Pro 1 battle versus like a veteran ended with the veteran winning, of course, but the battles were still good and people drove extremely well.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, with every year, the guys coming from Pro 2 to going into Pro 1, that gap's a little bit smaller. People don't think it is, but you look at these Pro 2 cars and they're freaking nuts. But the guys that do rise to the top are very prepared and they do have a good chance. But there are some guys like you'll see like they just barely get into the next rank, and it just takes them that much longer. And so I think that instead of if you finish 7th or 8th in Pro 2, just because you can run Pro 1, I would run Pro 2 again until you're like getting on the podium like half of the events type thing, because like you're still not going to be the best driver when you get to Pro 1. So it's like run where it's sustainable and you're still making some money and you're getting some good face time. But if you're just like, getting some top 8s and, you finish off 7th in the series and you go to Pro 1, like that's a big jump.
Yeah. And so
I say that if Corey can even finish a round with his car not breaking, I'd say Corey should go to Pro 1.
No, I'm ready, Sam. I've been training all past 4 years. No, it's all. I'll tell.
What,
so let me.
now that we're on the hold on, Corey. Now that we're on the fast track to success with Formula Drift, did you get your petition in for Pro 1?
Me? Oh yeah, I filled out 2 of them. I gave him 2 names just in case the first one didn't register. I can use the second one.
Yes.
Perfect technique.
Yeah, no. So you just throw a couple in. They throw a couple in the hat. Hopefully,
So
one sticks.
you can be your own ringer.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we're working on.
Awesome.
No, but so here's the problem that I figured out, Forsberg, and maybe you might have an answer for this. So the reason why a lot of dudes want to make that immediate jump because they have true belief that by making that jump from Pro-Am or Pro 2 to a Pro 1, they have a better opportunity at selling sponsorships or getting endorsements, right? Some believe that. So that's like, I don't care. I'm going to go do it because I can now put a proposal on Forsberg just saying, hey, I'm running Pro 1 this year. We get more eyes. We da-da-da-da-da. So what could you do to like a Pro-Am or Pro 2 guy to keep them motivated enough to stay down in a Pro-Am or Pro 2 to not have that itch to not want to make that jump? Like what could you do if they're trying to use that as an excuse to make that move up to Pro 1 is to get more endorsements? What else could they do to stay in Pro 2 or Pro 1?
Well, because I agree with what you're saying is that they have a better opportunity to get some more partnerships if they move up to Pro 1. However, the cost difference of running at a successful Pro 2 level and a successful Pro 1 level is probably bigger than the increased sponsorship that you're going to get. So there's that to keep in mind. But then again, like I said, it still goes back to I think that you should be able to get on the podium at least half the rounds in Pro 2 before you're moving up into Pro 1. And like I said, I only say that because it's going to make you a more consistent driver, which will put you in a safer position when you're running in Pro 1 because, we don't want to see someone to come out and crash your car and then put yourself into, a bad situation. But yeah, I mean, like other ways that you can be successful and be a Pro 2 driver is to, just consistently put out, good social media. And I know that's been like the topic for the past year or two. And everyone's trying to do YouTube videos now. And it just seems like it's just this like endless, just amount of video content coming out. But it's still not enough. There's still plenty of people out there that want to see stuff. There's still plenty of drivers getting views on their videos. So like, why not put the effort in to your own program? Like no matter what the level is, it doesn't matter if you are, like you see guys, some of the most successful, social media drivers or like however you would classify them, the YouTube stars are still running at a grassroots level. And so that just means that they are not only like it's easier for people to relate to them. So they get a lot of views for that. They get guys that enjoy seeing, I don't want to say the struggle, but just like the amount of work that goes into like prepping a car and building a car. And you get more of that from those grassroots drivers versus even like some of the pro guys that are doing videos because they're still just mostly showing like the trip and the event and like the good stuff. And like you see more of like the struggle and the hardship and everything else from the grassroots guys. And that's real. And that's what people like enjoy. And so like when I was doing the videos for a little while, like I was having fun showing some of that. It's like, yeah, like look at like all this freaking work we have to put into these cars. It's like, we don't just like show up with like, a car sitting, idling, warmed up, ready to go. I mean, some people do, but we put our effort in and people want to see that. And so there's no reason why all drivers can't put out that same message.
Yeah, I think that was very interesting when you were doing your series and pretty much you're showing everybody that you're the one working on your cars and going and pick up parts and all that. I'm sure like that a lot of fans started relating with you as well, not just like they start seeing that these guys are doing it in a very similar way than how we do it, and we're home and cutting cars and welding ourselves and like, do you saw like a race on your followers somehow when you started doing the blogging,
or just interaction in general?
Yeah, a lot of interaction. But I mean, I've always like tried to keep up with my comments. I like go back and look at posts because people ask questions, and I want to make sure that helping them if they have a question about their car or if it's just something about my car, that they're just curious of, that might help them in the future. I always try and keep up with comments. It's I wouldn't say like I saw like this immediate spike when I started doing videos. I mean, we've always tried to put stuff out there, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work too, and as the season was coming on and we were just having to do so much to get ready for Long Beach, just kind of had to put it on the back burner. I'm hoping to get them going again. Now that the rig is going to be leaving in only a few days, actually. So this is why we're putting a bunch of effort in on the car now, getting it ready, putting the fresh motor in, just making sure we're 100% before we ship it out east. And yeah, like ideally I'll get those videos going again, because when I was doing them before, it was like December, January time, and then like February came around, we're like, all right, it's time to just crank. Like doing the videos, it takes a lot of extra effort. You're working at almost half the pace that you could be working at. You're stopping and going back to show things, and so it is a lot of effort. It takes a lot of planning, but it's not to say that it's over. I just had to change my priorities around a little bit.
And I think that's a good segue into the car. And it's almost a completely new car from 2017. Took me a minute to remember what year it was, but yeah, it's almost a completely rebuilt car because you weren't happy with the weight balance, you weren't happy with the motor, and you got to debut it at Long Beach. And you had told me and others that it was many steps in the right direction to a drivable, happy package that you were looking for.
Yeah, it's we rebuilt the entire car. Took everything out. We went all the way down to the shell with it. Cut out all the mounts for all the old, bracketry for the fuel cells, the radiator, the intercooler, everything, and basically just started fresh. Cut the front and rear bumpers off, started those fresh too, and we were able to build the car to get it to the balance that I wanted, and also able to put a lot more drivability into the car. We changed around the engine setup a little bit. We have a couple new partners that we're working with. We're doing the Fast Intentions twin turbo kit on the car. Those guys came in and helped make the plumbing and the intercooler and everything else in the front end after we went back and forth on the design a couple times. And so those guys helped lay that out perfectly the way we wanted. We're running the all new Garrett G25 turbos with AMS turbo, and those things are just incredible, just like very powerful, very fast spooling turbos in a small package. And so just like a lot of things like that we just cleaned up and redid. But in the end, like if you just look at the car and essentially the overall design of the car and the size of the fuel cell, the size of the radiator, the fans that we used, the size of the intercooler, so many of those things were all within maybe 10% or less, sometimes even the exact same parts from last year. It was just, just kind of looking at, how it came together last year, and just being able to, everything is better the second time around. So no matter what you're doing, you're going to do it a little better, a little faster, a little lighter, a little cheaper, the second time around. So we basically just took the whole car apart and put it all back together again. And it's, I don't want to say perfect, but it's damn near close.
And hopefully you'll take us for a walk around a little bit later down there with what the guys are doing. But
sure, yeah.
You're putting in your motor from Long Beach isn't bad necessarily, but you have a slightly more advanced setup you're putting in.
Yeah, same thing. Last year, we were just chasing blocks all season long, and so we finally landed on the right setup going into Irwindale, and that's the RJM closed deck block, and that thing is working perfect. No issues, no head gasket issues, no cracks, anything like that. We, just a lot of phone calls in the off season talking to people. Guys over at Jim Wolf who have endless experience with the VQs and endurance racing, talking with, the AMS guys, and
which is
a lot
real
of
quick,
GTR.
quick aside. You said those guys. This is so crazy that Jim Wolf, one of the major Nissan motor builders, got together with AMS, the other major Nissan motor builders, kind of as a result of the Forsberg racing program, and it's just so weird to think that these guys hadn't really worked together much before, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose so. And so just connecting dots and getting people on the phone together, and same thing with RJM, the guy who designs what I would say is the best VQ block available now from people that have been having issues with these things in the past. He actually flew to AMS because he was so eager to meet them when they were building my motor, and he brought my block with him on the plane and just checked it. Yeah, and checked it. I mean, it's only like 70 pounds, like when they're all bare like that. But brought it with them, met those guys, and now they're working together, and he's going to be supplying blocks for them for VQ builds in the future. And so AMS ideally is going to now offer the alpha package for the VQs so that we can see more Z's, just make it huge power and not having these, head gasket issues and block issues. And for some reason it seemed like some sort of headache that I wanted to deal with last year, but it was real pain in the ass. But we're now on the forefront of it, and we have a lot of great people that are not only helping with the program but also helping the Z community by working together and now offering products that weren't available before. And so
that's just
our
so cool,
numbers
though,
aren't
everyone was brought together just because of this program. And it's maybe they would have all conglomerated before anyways, but it's just kind of interesting. Like AMS, if you guys haven't heard or seen, they have the fastest skylines in the world. They're doing drag racing, and your block builder was building these VQ blocks, but for other purposes. And
just for like high power Z guys. And the funny thing is, like, we don't make the most power, and that's like what we always say is like, strip cars are very powerful, but we aren't like the dyno queens, like putting down like 1,500 horsepower. But
it's about where
the
you
amount of heat and abuse that we put through them. Like we've heard from so many people, like, here you go, you'll never break this. I'm like, I'll call you in 2 weeks. Like don't worry about it. But like we've put these cars through like hell and back again. And I mean, even like winter's performance, like we started running the quick changes in like 2012. Not to say we were one of the first teams, but like it was before like every car came, to FD with a quick change. And we put it in there, and we immediately were breaking the side shafts. And we call them up, we're like, do you guys sell these, spare side shafts? They're like, for what? I'm like, well, we broke two of them at the last FD event. And they're like, no one's ever broken that. You're doing something wrong. And through that, they now are on like version 3 of like upgraded side shafts for the Winter's Diff, based on us beating the crap out of them in drifting events.
What were Winters originally used for?
Like street rods.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like the big live axles are mostly like sprint car style. So you have like the quick changes, so you can dial in your car for circle track racing, because as Corey will be able to dive in a little bit better with his sprint car experience, it is a direct drive. There is no clutch. There is no transmission. So you have to dial in your perfect wheel speed via the quick change gears.
Right.
Yep.
And so we run them because they are just much stronger, and we have the versatility of changing our rear gear rapidly. And so they offer a street rod one that is not on the live axle. It has mounts to be able to be hung under a street rod or anything really that has an IRS suspension. So
Corey was too busy getting into the weeds with a commenter, picking up the ball on the sprint car there. But it's cool. I wanted to let's talk about Long Beach. So you have this car that you enjoy and enjoy driving and can kind of control again. How did Long Beach go for you? Qualifying, battle? I guess start with practice. How did the car feel differently, and then take us through your event?
I mean, car felt great. It was we only did.
You didn't
one
crash
test.
into the wall on media day during the rain, and
I did not. No, that wasn't media day. That was day 1 FD. So it was even better.
Okay.
And that was. I love that till this very day.
Tell the story about that one real quick for those that weren't there for the last
Friday.
time we told it.
It's Friday morning, 2016, right? And it's freaking pouring, right? And so, like, the news was there, and they wanted us to go out and like do a quick run. They're like, okay, we want to get, some of our guys out first, because the news is only going to film for like 3 minutes, right? It's just going to do a quick live thing, and then they're going to go to the reporter, and then that's it. It's over. So we're like, all right. So they grab like me, Vaughn, Osbo, Turk, and Gucci, right? No, you 5 guys, like, we're going to have you first in practice. You each go through, and then, it'll just go right into practice from there. I'm like, sounds good. And then we're, like, all looking at each other like, so who's going to go first?
Because it's at this point,
And, yeah, because
been
it's
raining,
pouring
the
rain,
parking lot's
nobody wanted to do
greasy.
it, right? And we're just, like, looking at each other like, and I'm like, fuck it, I'll go. And so... So just digging my own grave over here. I line up first, and I think Turk was behind me, and then Vaughn was behind him, and then Osbo, and then Gucci. And of those 5 cars, I think 3 of us crashed. I think Osbo blew his motor, and Gucci spun but missed the wall.
Yeah.
It was the most amazing display of pro drifting of all time.
Yeah, and they were like, the poor news anchor is like, let's see what this drifting thing's all about. Back to you, Chris. And then like you kind of like slowly park into the wall because it's greasy, and then everyone proceeds to just completely fly all over the course, hitting everything. And and now
so that happens on live TV. I'm first car in. I come through, and what it is through turn 2, when you go up along the judge's wall, you are running perpendicular to like 10 parking spaces. So they're all just oil soaked, and it starts raining, and it just all comes up, right? And so when you pitch into that turn, you start going, okay, like I got this, and then all of a sudden the car just goes whoop, and just flips backwards. And so like I put the back end into the wall. It was fine, it's a drift car, but obviously it was amazing highlight reel. And so, but like, so they were they follow me for a second, and they turn the camera off or go somewhere else. And like, and in that time, like, Vaughn crashed, and then like Turk crashed, and then Gucci spins, and then Osbo like broke or something. So, and from there, then they open practice, and that was just, I think there was 20 crashes in like 30 or 40 minutes.
And that was the year they got rid of qualifying too.
And that was the year that we had 32 drivers exactly. And so, like, my car was getting fixed. I'm up in the tower. Vaughn's in the tower. And Odie comes up, and, like, all these other drivers just start coming up to, like, watch because they're like, everybody's crashing. Like, what is going on? So, like, there's, like, I don't know, like a half a dozen or maybe 8 or 10 of us, like, standing up there watching. And, like, everyone's just looking at each other like, what the hell do we do here? And, we just started being like, what if we just don't run in this anymore? And they're like, what do we do for qualifying? We're like, fuck it, do hat draws, like whatever. Like that's what they do for the super drift. They just randomly draw them. Like go by rank, go by hat draw or something. But like as we're talking, people are just crashing and like getting towed off. And the next car goes and he crashes. I'm like,
all these new cars,
you're gonna be out of cars if we keep this up. Like there's not gonna be a show. Like tomorrow was like the Saturday. I'm like, it's going to be beautiful. It's like 80 degrees and sunny. I'm like, and we're like, everyone is just like trying to kill themselves to qualify for no reason. I'm like, just let everybody in. Let's just be done with this. And so that's what happened.
That's the same time where Kristaps was saying, oh, everybody don't want to qualify. Go sit down in grandstand. Remember?
Yeah, he was mentioning that.
He wanted to see the destruction.
Yeah.
All right, so back to 2018. You're practicing. Car's feeling good. How'd you feel about it all?
Yeah, so we did like one test day with the car, and it was great. I was just like, this thing freaking rules. Like I had no idea it could be that much better with, like I said, with so many similar components. And so instead of just like going to the track like 16 times and just beating the crap out of the car, we're just like, all right, like, car's running good, it's feeling good. Let's just, save it for media day and, like, dial it in, like, when the rest of the crew comes to town. So go out for media day, and yeah, we were the number 1 car on the line, pulled up, got out there first, made Scott proud, and we...
That's a Scott command. Scott loves getting out there first, right?
So he wants to be first. Oh, yeah. I mean, it shows that you're ready, Like... Cars running, like, we showed up, cars ready, like, we're ready, like, it just, just get out and get in line. Like, no reason to sit around and wait and see what happens. It's like, we're here to race, let's go race. And so, we were first car in line, we went out and just, like, opened up Long Beach, and it was sick. Like, car was running great, feeling great. And so we just slowly we're like plugging away the setup. There's not too much you can do on the media day because you have passengers, and so it feels a little different every lap anyway. There's like also no rubber down, so it feels super loose compared to the weekend. But either way, it was, it was driving flawlessly. We were just kind of playing with, the setup a little bit and just gearing up for Friday. And Friday we hit it, same thing. We're like one of, if not like the first car out again, and just hammered through practice. And yeah, it just felt awesome. We qualified 6th, which was great. It's funny, like in qualifying, that's right. I was hammered on Turk because I beat Turk in qualifying. I usually don't, because he's a hell of a qualifier. And so we're just like razzing each other like through, the first round and the second round. But we ended up 6th, which was sick. Felt great to, get out there in a high position, like, with the new car, the new setup. And yeah, I mean, everything was awesome. And then moving on to just like a quick fast forward through, we run top 32 with Kevin Lawrence. He's a solid driver, but he just wasn't in his car. His car broke down. He was driving a backup, and so he just wasn't on par. So unfortunate for him. But so we get into top 16. We run Chelsea, and Chelsea and them, they look like they were starting to get the cars together. And they were starting to work good. And so I knew he was just he's a maniac, right? He was gonna put it all over our door.
Yeah.
And he did, dude. He pushed me through the course 3 times, and like turn 1, boom, turn 2, boom, boom, and like back into the hairpin. I'm just like, Jesus freaking Christ, dude, stop it.
Yeah,
And,
I see his tire marks all over your door. It's still in the garage in the other room.
Yeah, I still gotta go clean that off. But but yeah, like I knew he would do that, and he did a great job at it. And like he's it's very difficult to bump into cars and keep going, as some people don't know, because your front drive tire is just taking all the hit and it keeps pulling at the steering wheel. So anytime you're like bumping into a car like that, like it's difficult to push on. But I don't know, he's doing it. Maybe the thing's because it's off the ground or whatever, it doesn't matter. So, but no, that was a good run. But he did like a half spin, coming off I think going into the hairpin. So like he was like pushing me through turn 2, and then he backs off and we flick and we go into the hairpin, and like he like overbroke and over rotated, and it was just like a little obvious. And then we had a good chase with him. We won. We move on to top 8. We're running Forest. And so like the first pair of runs, it was I had to chase him first, which always sucks, to have to follow first. And so it was a decent run. We kept up. We did good, but like I wasn't as close as I wanted to be. Made a mistake going into turn 1. Like he flicked the big angle, and I was too far on the inside, and I had to get like shimmied up behind him down the straight, which I should have known that was coming. He does it to everybody every year, every Long Beach, every Super Drift, and all that. But I got like too far on the inside going into turn 1, because I usually run on the rumble strips and he did not. And so we come out, I back up, get back around him, get through the left, and it kind of fell back a little bit. I was on the inside line. And so we finished that off. My lead run, I just went and just hammered down. We had some good distance on him. Still filling the zones, but put a little bit of a gap on him. Got it one more time out of it. And as we are heading back down to the pit, or the start line, my clutch stopped working. I was like losing the pedal, right? And so I'm trying to like pump, and then hold it down and get it into gear type thing. And it just like wasn't working, right? And so for those that watched, that was the second run. So yeah, like I basically had to like neutral drop off the line to get going, because I couldn't have it in gear because it wouldn't disengage. And so because there was no way that we're going to fix it in 5 minutes. So at this point I'm like, well, I'm just going to run this thing. And so already knowing we're at a disadvantage, I'm like, this isn't going to work out. But pull up to the lines, like, thumbs up, like lights go out, and just like rip that thing in the gear, and it just starts going. And go down the straightaway, and I'm trying to like pump the handbrake, because it's going to affect the engine because it's not disconnecting. And so we get through the course, same thing. I got a little locked up behind him in turn 1, but it was exaggerated because of the handbrake thing, and it was similar but not as good as my first chase And then so my lead run, same thing. We pull back around and, neutral drop, just pull it in the first, rip down the straight, and like go handbraking into turn one. Same thing. It just starts to kind of like trying to pull the RPMs down. Get back in the power, drive out, and like make it through the left-hander and everything. But when I flicked into the hairpin, pulled the handbrake, and it's such a slowdown there at that point that it actually killed the engine. And so killed the engine, car snapped straight, force bumped into me, and that was that.
So when you say like you didn't have clutch, that means that when you're going first, second, third, fourth gear, you are just slamming the gears?
Yeah, we're just flat shifting.
Cool. And then you can't then use e-brake because you can't clutch in.
You can, but you have to like modulate the hell out of it. You can't lock the tires up. Because if you lock the tires up, you lock the engine up. And so you're just trying to just like slow it down, but it's obviously pulling the RPM down. It's not a good situation.
Yeah. Did you guys figure out what caused that, and is it fixed for the next round?
Yeah, I mean, we're just basically, I mean, there's only 3 components to a clutch system: the master, the slave, and the clutch itself. So we're putting all new pieces in it, and we'll be inspecting the old ones to see what happened. What I think happened is it might have been user error. The clutch pedal felt a little weird. We bled it, and I think like when we like reset it and everything, I think we set it too high, too far away from the clutch stop, and we might have overbent the clutch fork. And then at that point, just it gets a little worse every time you push the clutch down. So because it felt a little fishy in top 16. But like we did like a rebleed and like set the stop, and we checked it and everything felt good. Like going into the 8, we're like, okay, like we're good. And then it just like got worse with like every push. So, and by the time we're doing my lead run, there was just 0 clutch.
Yeah, it sucks.
And it is what it is, but like when my car breaks, I'll say that my car broke, and that's my fault.
Yeah, it is your fault. When you say it's a team error, like a human error, you mean it's yours. You did it. Or do you want to point fingers at someone down there? If you just point a finger, I'll figure out who it was.
Oh, I'm not pointing fingers at those guys.
Double D.
Was it Dylan? Speaking of Dylan, let's talk about Dilly. He was in Motegi Super Drift. I had the pleasure of watching Friday's event. You were there for both days as a spotter.
Yep.
But little Pro 2 guy, Dylan, your crew man, he got to drive Long Beach, which is not usually a privilege most Pro 2 dudes get. And from what I saw, he kind of shredded.
He did a good job, yeah. So Super Drift is very limited run time. You have 30 minutes of practice. Everybody gets 2 to 3 laps, right? And so day 1, he was the alternate. He was the 9th driver in case there's an issue. So he gets to practice, but he didn't get to run, and unless someone broke. And so he only got 2 laps in, and they were both great. I mean, first pass, he was like a couple feet off the walls. I'm like, all right, like, you're this far off this one, this far off this one, but like.
But I mean, you got to get your
everything else
first
is
run
good.
done at Long Beach, because I mean, you can't see.
Oh
the
yeah,
next
yeah. I
corner
mean,
at
yeah,
Long
first
Beach.
run. I mean, just drifting the course in general is a success. So.
Yeah, and granted, I'm not nearly as skilled of a driver as Dylan, but it's like if I was running that course, I would just do like a nice little throw the wheel back and forth down the first run, just to kind of feel where the spots are and see where. But Dylan's like, at least I'm going to drift the whole thing, and he definitely did. And then the second run, he looked better than some people in Pro 1's practice runs on simply his second run of the entire time ever driving Long Beach. So that was pretty exciting to watch the little guy grow up so fast in front of our eyes.
They grow so fast.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Like, I mean, with Long Beach, you literally just have to commit, and we see it every year. Like, you got new guys coming, and new guys like either like flick it in, they carry through and they can drift the course, or they go nose first into the tires, because it is a blind 90-degree left or right-hander coming into turn 1, and when you're coming down the straightaway, if you don't flick, pitch, and get ready for the right-hander at the right time, and just panic, lock up the tires, you just go straight. And I've seen it a dozen times, and it's just part of Long Beach. And so I was telling him, I'm like, just just get that thing up to speed. Just get it going as fast as it'll go. Pull the handbrake at the cutout, and you will make the corner. And after that, it's just smooth sailing. Just have to commit, get through turn one, and then the track opens up and you can see where you're going. But that first one is like people flick and they panic because they don't think they're going to make the corner, and then they lock up, and then that's when they all crash.
Yeah, because then you're done.
Do you think it will be a good
Pretty
idea?
much, yeah.
Do you think it will be a good idea to have Pro 2 start at Long Beach?
Hell no. Are you out of your mind?
I mean, might as well. I put him through the flames and.
Might as well destroy all their dreams early on before they
No,
get them
Atlanta is
slowly
the
whittled away.
perfect opener.
Yeah, because at least then when you don't make the corner and you overcook it, you at least fly into the kitty litter at 100 miles an hour, and that's more entertaining for everyone. Because then hopefully a car only
it takes a
breaks
while to
few
get them
things.
out, but
Yeah, that is
the
a
problem
bummer.
with that is then they all get a little too excited because there is no wall at the end of that straightaway, so they all start
Exactly.
flying in.
I say let's do some sort of like you've heard I've got a lot of good ideas for Atlanta, and the next round of ideas I think we put like a little kicker at the end of turn one, like a little ramp, so make it a little more consequences for going off. You get some
That
air now.
that sounds like a grid life edition.
Yeah, you get some air if you go off on corner one now.
Yeah, I'm into that. It's just like the skip right across the kitty litter, land in the keyhole, keep going.
Yeah, keep going. There you go. Other idea, of course, which you mentioned in the show before, is to get a good shot. Is I put on a set of rollerblades, get like a Movi in my hands, and go down the hill with you guys, or kind of have you.
It's
drift
a steep
around me.
hill. Make sure you get your knee pads.
Yeah, knee pads at least.
All right, cool. Shin guards.
Actually,
wrist guards as well. Probably.
Strictly shin guards, no helmet. You'll be
Yeah.
No
fine.
helmet,
Actually-
obviously. I'm not a fucking weenie.
why not instead of rollerblades, do skis and see if you can skid over the kitty litter.
That's a good
and
idea, Bucko.
catch us up at the Team Rowdy booth.
Skitty litter.
Just gotta go straight.
Kitty litter.
They'll have a beer ready for you there.
And then finally, to close out Motegi Super Drift, we were both kind of shocked and astonished, at least just from when I was there Friday, at Peter Wiechek's runs.
Dude.
Wiechek. It's
Dude, it was
The guy's an
awesome.
animal.
What is going on?
He
It's fun to
was
see Chris
just
get excited
on
about
it.
this thing. Yeah.
It was on it, start to finish, lead and follow every freaking lap. It was so
it
rad.
was unstoppable, unchanging, and perfect every time. Like, it was
Yeah.
absurd.
His lead runs, like, there's only like two ways to run Long Beach. Well, no, there's three. One is into the wall, and and then there's like smooth, steady, and like kind of filling the zones. It looks good. It looks great. And then there's this approach that only a couple guys have ever done, but it's like he was doing it, Piotr, that is, every lead run, and it's awesome. It's like you come out of turn one and you hang it out, and because the cars are getting faster, so the lines kind of change. So if you come out and you just run like a 45-degree angle, graze the wall in turn one, transfer back, same thing, turn like the second wall, and you just carry that same angle all the way through, right? That works. But if you come through and you just like throw the ass of your car into the wall of turn one, so you're like coming in at like 80 degrees almost, and you carry that, it shortens the whole track up for you, right? And so with that, now you're not as far down the track as some of the other drivers. And so you have to be able to accelerate and gain some ground back to make it to the judges' wall. So if you watch his runs, especially from the judges' tower, the way that you do that is, you carry that big angle, you bounce off the first wall, and then you do like a slow transition on the power through the alley towards the bridge wall. And you kind of graze bridge wall at decent angle, but then you just crank it to lock. So it's like you don't flick, and you're not like set to angle when you hit the second zone. You're just like building speed, building momentum, and then you just like flick it in and do this like kind of second initiation into that, the
Just
judges wall.
little extra
Little
shimmy,
flick.
yeah.
And it just looks sick. And there's only so many people that have ever done it that way.
Yeah.
I think Peter memorized the track to the point that he's probably capable of driving it blindfolded.
Oh, he's got it worked out. I mean, he qualified first, he finished third, and then won both nights at the Motegi thing. So
Yeah.
he's got it pretty down.
I think that's like a.
Okay, so I guess I've asked this question of every driver, and they usually just give me it's probably the same answer you're going to give me. Is like, oh, I'll do my best. Like, how do you beat
Whoa.
Peter and Dean? Well, I'll do my best.
I'm just gonna try hard.
I'm just going to try hard. How do you beat those guys? Because their cars are ridiculous. Their skills are ridiculous. What do you do as a driver specifically to your car? What do you do to your driving? What do you do?
Well, they have those things super balanced. Like you can tell that they work very, very well. They brake well, they accelerate well, they hold angle well, they have great mid range, and so they're very, very drivable, and you can see it, which is why the cars are so smooth. A lot of the FD cars, they're wound up super tight, and so you see a lot of that, like surging and like the herky jerky, like through a corner sometimes in tandem, like in a chase position, even like most of the cars are like that. It's just been like the natural progression. And then, when Daigo came over, it was like same thing, just like a different driving style. And everyone was just like a little thrown off by it, even though, like he was fast and he could keep up. And he actually was like tighter than most cars. Like he would surge even harder on most, but it was still just different. And so people weren't like comfortable to put it on the door and like push this guy around the track type thing until a few events go by type thing. And that's basically like what happened with those guys last year. Not to say that they didn't deserve to win, they obviously did, but the fact that it was just always so smooth, and James like came over and he's just got like nothing to lose, and he has more tandem experience than probably anyone in the world. Like he just runs so many tandem competitions, and so just to be that comfortable, that close to cars all the time, and for him, it was like him versus everybody, right? And so he just had to drive that hard against everyone he went up against, because it was all new to him. For guys like us, it's like, okay, like we line up against, James or someone. It's like, all right, well, like, he might not be that fast, give him a little room and then try and close on him here, so, right? And then like you start making mistakes. And the only way to beat him is to, give him his own game, which is to put it on his freaking door, like right out the gate. And like that's how Piotr drives as well. Like his chase runs at the Grand Prix were hilarious.
We're just ridiculous. We're both giggling because it's
perfectly like parallel, like right at the initiation and like all
within
the way
inches
through the
of
course.
the door, which just blows my mind. It's like, and the fact that he knows when to pull back and surge forward enough just to be immediately 3 inches off the door again, and like just because you have to try to as a good tandem follower. You always have to try to predict the lead car's movements on transition to duck back enough when you're tandem that close. But the fact that he's able to do that with multiple opponents, and to see him in Forrest's line specifically is pretty insane, because Forrest is known as the style guy that throws an extreme angle into corners. And Peter was not only doing that on the follow run with him, but he was doing it chase run as well, but with ridiculous speed and consistency.
Oh, it was awesome.
Like it was,
and like so like I was saying, like everyone just they feel comfortable with certain drivers, and so like you'll push against a certain driver, and other ones you'll give them a little distance, which isn't the right way to be. It's just you're playing it safe, right? You think you can beat the driver by being a couple feet off of them, like 4 or 5 feet versus like 4 or 5 inches. And so those guys, they just don't have that like in their head, so they're just pushing right up against every car they go up against, which is sick. And that's like that's what everybody wants to see, right? And so it's funny because like like you guys aren't in the drivers meetings, but even like Vaughn will bring that up to be like, like we're talking, how things are judged, like how they want us to place the cars on the track, just all the ins and outs of FD judging, basically at every event, because we're all just trying to have a good understanding of what the judges want to see. And also with that, it's explaining that we know that when we get that close to a driver, you are putting yourself in more of a position to fail than succeed, I would say. The odds of you getting behind someone that's going to not give you a clean lead run, I don't want to say are greater, but the chance is there, which is why you see a lot of you guys give that distance, that little bit of space, so that they have a little buffer room for these tight cars to be like hooking and digging and changing direction. But when you see like some of these guys come in from overseas, they are just going for it 100%. So wait, who the hell is this guy? Who are you?
I need your charger.
Oh, you're taking my charger? Hey, Sam.
Oh.
You guys are in the same building.
Samception.
Oh. Well, that was
Wow.
weird.
Very
I,
weird.
I did take his charger, so he came and took it back.
I don't know who I talked to. I was either Ryan or Jared in the announcer stand this past round, and I don't know who brought up. It was one of those two, but it was in the drivers' meeting. They asked James and Peter, "Why don't they ask so many questions?" They're like, "Why don't you guys communicate and ask so many questions in the drivers' meeting?" And I guess they said it's not our job to ask the questions. It's our job to learn exactly what the judges want and just do it.
Yeah.
Which is a really interesting kind of way to look at it. It's like, no, we don't ask questions. We don't talk about it. We just listen. We're all ears. We process it and leave, and that's it. Because a lot of guys,
those dicks know they're gonna win anyways.
yeah, they're cheating this year. No, but that's the thing is, maybe a lot of these questions are just overanalyzing it, and maybe and I'm just this all hypothetical, but it's just an interesting way to look at things now when we're used to asking and picking apart and really dissecting it when it's more so just, all right, if that's what you want, I'll give it to you. Plain and simple. Sorry.
Yeah, and like I totally get that mentality, but then again, it's like someone's got to ask the questions, and so there's always a handful of guys that are raising their hands and bringing up situations of like, oh well, like if a driver does this versus this, like what's better? They're like, oh well, this is better, and then like, okay, well, like what if a driver does this? Like, should we do that or do this? And they're like, oh, definitely do that. So like, it's not drivers like telling the judges like what they can and cannot do. It's like you bring up a couple hypotheticals and you hear them, give their opinion on what they would favor. What basically is the higher penalty or the bigger risk, whatever you want to call it. So I mean, yeah, someone's got to ask the questions, and not all 32 drivers are going to.
Right.
But
And to be
we got to get it
fair,
out
the
there.
Mustang drivers, I think, ask enough questions for everyone.
Yeah, they fill it out.
So I think if you just listen to their questions, I'm not going to say which ones. But there's probably two Mustang drivers in specific that ask a lot of questions or maybe make statements quite often at the drivers' meetings.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, someone's got to do it because judges give us their perspective, and then the drivers will ask. Like I said, it's usually just like hypotheticals, like what would be the bigger penalty, like this or this, and we hear that from them, and then it's nice to hear it from the judges as like this is actually what we would prefer, and so then that's what we strive for.
Now, Chris, you as a seasoned driver, been doing this for how many years now? 15?
Too many.
50 weeks.
50 weeks.
A 50-week seasoned driver. Obviously, I mean, we can tell you're, I would say, a fan of Peter. Who else do you think will be like a very good newcomer to the professional drifting scene that's gonna make it good? It's gonna make it big, in your opinion.
New blood.
And you can say Dylan.
That is hold on, that's in the series right now, or that?
I was gonna say like who's Well,
I mean, who do you
do I have
see?
multiple choice?
Yeah. I mean, say like driver. I mean, feel free to shout out to anybody that that could think that you think it could fill in, big boots.
That's in Pro 1 right now.
I honestly think
Everybody.
Piotr is gonna be one to like fuck people up this year.
Yeah.
Like look at it. Like he slowly grew to that car last year. He won Irwindale, and then he came into Long Beach qualifying first, and he was just like on point. I don't know exactly why he lost. I didn't see it in the semis, but it was or wait, no. Yeah, who saw that? Like
Osbo.
Okay.
I don't remember what happened exactly. I think that
I think
Osbo drove slightly better.
Yeah, I
don't
think
remember what he did, but
Peter's.
Yeah, I mean, like, and Osbo does that. Like, he's the type of guy that can pull it out when he needs to.
yeah.
Peter's demise
Like,
seems
same
to,
thing. Like Osbo might not do that to everybody, but it's like, okay, like Piotr on one, like stick it to the door, like right out the gate.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean,
like I said, you
it was
have these
Peter's
like certain.
It was Peter's event. Like he drove consistently better than Osbo.
Yeah.
It just happened to be Osbo versus Peter. Like Osbo drove better that battle.
Yeah, that'll
He pulled
happen.
it out, like you said.
But yeah, I think he's on one this year for sure.
So there you go. Peter
That's all you got to
Bean
say about that?
Yep, that's it. All right.
He's an
Peter
old man
Beansak's
drunk.
got to be our next champion.
Well, I think he was looking for you to say like some like Paco's trying to get in his drift fantasy league, like who the next pick's gonna be, like who can he tell his friends 2019, like, oh yeah, watch out for when this guy comes in 2019 and kicks Peter and Dean's ass. That's who Paco wants to know.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Okay. Corey?
Okay. The end.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, maybe you need to start watching a little bit more drifting, Chris. No, just kidding.
Me?
No, just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Are you trying to get me to say Corey? Is that what you're trying to get me to
God. Oh, I'm gonna ram my head
say? He's
against
like,
this
so
keyboard.
who from Pro 2?
So who's this up
getting
and comer?
back out there?
He's like,
Yeah.
you had to pick a dude in a Nissan. You had to pick another guy.
And the winner is he's in a Nissan. It's got wheels.
And an engine.
He has a V8 engine. This is
I can't believe that is still a thing.
Yeah, Jared,
I guess it is,
Jared
and
still does
people
that
still
kind
love it every time.
Yeah.
you know,
Do they?
Jared's a man of his habits, and you know he said don't question it. Jared listens to this show, Chris. If you want to get an angry text in the middle of the night when he hears this.
I'm
You better-
not dissing Jared for saying it. I'm saying I can't believe it's still funny to everybody. Like even
Do you
still.
know my new favorite thing that Jared does is the well spouts,
Yeah.
Oh.
the vape waves.
The vape wave.
Yeah, those are by far when you go well
God.
sighting.
Ripping fat clouds.
Yeah, when you go well sighting or
Well-
well watching, that's my new favorite thing Jared does for sure.
He had at the Super Drift, he did the roller coaster, which I've never seen before.
Oh, that was a good one. Yeah.
He did a triple
He
wave
just gets
too.
hands and scream as loud as they can.
And do people go like? Do they go like directional, or do they?
No, see that's the next move.
Yeah.
So it's like everybody to the left, oh, everybody to the right.
The
Oh.
roller.
Next one
we're
should be
gonna tell
musical chairs.
I like to
Don't
picture
do that.
Jared sitting at home in his dad lair in his fucking underwear. He's just empty beer cans around him, and he's just watching live announcers, like taking a roller coaster. All right, shit. Like I'm gonna do that one next time.
Oh, shit.
Shit.
Vape wave, the vape wave. All right, cool. That's gonna be a big one for FD.
hmm
So what? Going into Orlando, very different track than Long Beach setup wise.
Oh, yeah.
What do you change? What do you adjust? You got to change how to handle that gigantic bump off of the
yeah.
bowl. So what do you
Yeah, the one in the
immediately
infield or
change?
the one coming off the bank?
Well, let's start with the one off the bank. So what do you immediately change setup wise in your car from Long Beach?
We just have to raise it up a little bit because it just compresses the suspension so hard there, and we're basically just bottoming out our diff every run, and so that's not good for it. But
Do you have a cool titanium skid plate that is going to throw some sparks up?
oh man, I'd love to. I don't know if that's legal. We caught our
Really? I
car
thought-
fire there already.
Yeah, you had a very overly attentive fire crew, some may say,
I
that
know.
helped you pull your fire
Yeah.
suppressant pretty early, before there was even a fire, some may say.
Yeah, it was just one of those big backfires, like fuel residue from like doing like a fast fill up right before getting out there. Big backfire, and it just like lights up the back of the car, some tire rubber and debris, like things like that, and then it goes out. Not saying that it's safe to assume that it will go out every time, but it happens a lot. Like you see like other cars doing it a lot, and we've obviously done what we can to fix that issue because we don't want that to happen ever. And so it's I don't know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, we raised the car a little bit to handle the bump. We play with our BC coilovers a lot, a high speed, low speed, trying to get as much grip in the course as possible, but still having the shock dampening to handle the bump, so we're not just blowing our suspension apart every lap. So
Yeah.
Nice. Are you doing any international driving other than Formula Drift this year?
yeah, I'm planning on going back to Goodwood this year, so that's cool.
Oh, you lucky dog.
Yeah, that is a fun event.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's better, the
So-
driving or the partying?
Both, yeah. It's an insane hill or driveway, whatever you want to call it. And and like the parties are good. Like Lord March throws these like balls, like galas, like whatever you want to call it, like just thousands of people, like hanging out and partying. And, like has these like crazy musical guests. He puts on crazy fireworks displays. Like it's awesome. It's like the biggest, best car event I've ever been to.
Nice. Well, I mean, when you guys go up there, you definitely put a good show. But is it possible to go uphill on Tandem?
I don't think so. We talked about it last year, and it's like it's so narrow, and you're already running like such low angle because it's like very high speed. Like there's not really just like smooth radiuses to like get a good pitch in. You really only get that in the first like 2 turns.
Got it.
And then after that, it's like all like 20-degree like bends, and it's just very fast paced, and it would be very, very sketchy.
You will be all covered in smoke.
You would be like nose to tail, and the chase guy would just be in the smoke, and it would be bad news.
Okay, it'll be cool kind of see that kind of that kind of stunt being pulled up.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys
definitely
not make an Instagram post for Chris?
I think actually looks like we didn't. Oh, you know why? Because it was the
Come the fuck on, Paco.
just like the first year, we didn't have that thing, did we?
Yeah, no. So Paco did an intentional throwback.
It's very
year
unintentional.
1 of when we didn't do the Instagram questions. Actually, I think we may have always done them though. So that wouldn't be a very good throwback. Hey, but Facebook chat, if you guys have questions for Chris, why don't you throw them up there? They've been asking questions the entire
Both
episode.
Facebook and YouTube.
And we usually ignore them because most of them are dumb. But that's not true, guys. It's usually our conversation about something. But yeah, throw up.
These are
throw up
fans,
your,
Sam.
live questions for
It's
Chris
not really
up here.
nice.
I know.
There's
They like me the least, anyways. Like I don't have much further to drop as far as the standings are concerned.
Do you know what's funny?
If you notice that the FD dads and everyone, when it's marry, fuck, kill, they always want to marry me, but I feel like most of the fans would say kill. But we'll see.
Well,
all right,
you know what's funny though,
Dan?
you know what's funny though, Sam? I do see a lot of people come up with names now like Drift Geek, Drift Dum Dum, Drift Dumb Guy. There's a lot of I would almost a unique spin-off of the OG Drift Idiot. How do you respond to all those?
Well, I'm gonna come into the night. Most of you guys, I'm gonna come at you when you're least expecting it.
Yep.
So I'd say be prepared. That's my message for you.
Just be ready for it at any
Be
time.
prepared. Yeah, bro. There's gonna be a reckoning.
Okay, the questions are starting to pour.
Here's one from Brett Will. Chris, are you happy with the boost, or are you wishing you still ran the VK?
I would say that now I'm happy with the boost. I was contemplating a lot last year, but no, it's working good. It's working great, and we now have more potential with the setup than we did with the V8. Our car is better balanced now. The V8 was very heavy, very nose heavy, and the biggest thing with that was there was very little aftermarket for the VK. As you probably know, we were like one of like 5 people in the world like running that motor, and so it was very difficult to keep it going. We were like kind of paving the way for the motor, which is not really what we need or want to be doing for FD. As drift drivers. There's a reason why everybody runs the LS motor, because it's just proven time and time again. And, yes, I kind of went down that same rabbit hole with the VQ for a minute, but knowing that there was so much more support that would come after we started running that engine, which is what we're seeing now with, like I said, Fast Intentions and AMS and Jim Wolf, RJM, and all these guys who are just getting more behind our VQ engine program to be able to make parts for their companies. So, yeah, I definitely am very happy with it. It's working better than ever. The response is insane. It feels, with the twin turbo setup and John Reed's tuning and that little spray of nitrous down low, like it feels like a high-strung V8. So, like the way that our V8 used to be before we put a ton of nitrous on it. So it just like it takes a second, but it follows through pretty quickly. It's not just like this super laggy setup like it like last year it was just like a little too overthought last year. It was all too top end last year. So we focus on the mid range, and it feels great.
I got a
and
question.
that's, I mean, the number real quick. The number one thing you would think though with the turbo setup versus the V8 is that you don't have as much instant power. So I mean, with the VK, like if you went from off throttle to on throttle, would it immediately like light up tires in a certain way versus like now you have that surge a bit more? Or
When we it did not have that until we added the nitrous, because with it being a 5.6 liter revving to 9,000 RPM, if that thing was below 5, it wasn't doing anything. It felt like a turbo car, like it would just like load up. And so when we put nitrous on it, like yes, that helped it with that. So it was like one or the other. It was like high strung and wound out and would get like hung at like $5,000 if you didn't have it in, like if you got choked up behind someone slow and you were still in the tall gear, like it might load up and try and straighten out. And then when we put the nitrous on it, it would just like buzz the tires. So it took us a minute to find that happy medium through like 2014 was the first year we ran nitrous, and we did win that year, and that was awesome. 2015, we were trying to hone it in a little bit better, and people were advancing their engine packages a lot. And in 2016, we got our nitrous program working very well, and then we won again that year. So it definitely, you have to have your setup perfect. And like last year, we weren't and perfect, and it shows. And that's what I'm saying. Like, even with our top 8 run, it was like car wasn't perfect. You're not going to win. Like, everybody's so on point where you can't have, just like a half-ass car.
yeah.
So I got a question here, and the only reason I'm asking this because you're vocal about it on your Instagram. But Michael Mankey asks, "What was your thoughts on the Long Beach fire?"
It's for me, like when I saw the video, right? Because someone's like, "Oh my God, look, there's video," and I'm like watching the video, and it's like just Federico like running around his car. There was like one safety guy there, like he didn't have an extinguisher with him. And it's just like Federico running around the car, like trying to figure out how to like either activate his fire suppression, or maybe it did go off and didn't do enough, or whatever he was trying to do. It was obviously like,
Not working.
kind of putting himself in a dangerous situation because no one was stopping him.
Right.
So he was trying to save his car, which a lot of people would probably do. And so not only was he putting himself in danger, but it just seemed like it took a very long time, just longer than I expected, for the proper safety crew to come out. And then the only other comment being, when they did come, it was like, not like full fire gear. Same thing. They're like kind of putting themselves at risk. And it's not something that we want to see. We don't want, there to be like a negative light on drifting because of some bad incident like that. Like
Right.
that situation could have been worse. And,
For sure.
Luckily it was like, I don't want to say luckily it was just a car, because that sucks. And that was like part of the reason why I was so upset, is like, like it was just like sitting there, just like on, like I've never seen a fire that big and burn for that long in drifting or almost any motorsport.
Yeah, there has not been any fire like that in drifting at all that has burned that long. The only thing we were looking at is how could they have sped that up, and the only thing that we thought of from watching the video is where they position the fire truck on the opposite end of the horseshoe, where they have to go literally upstream to get to the traffic that happens in turn 1 or 2. But if they would have had the fire truck
and like that, like
starting
that's the thing.
line,
Like, I can't believe there wasn't one at the end of turn 1
Or extinguishers.
or at the opening,
Right.
At the initiation. Like that's like why it took so long, because like they're all like sitting all the way back at the finish line.
and then wait for
And so,
Chelsea to
to like
finish.
get in the vehicle, or if they're sitting there to like recognize it, start it up, and like head that way. Like it's a very, very long time.
Yeah, and that is considering, just what's all at stake. You had 2 people around the car, and then you had some dude's competition car sitting there. And that was the other thing we talked about, too.
Well, and luckily, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead.
Didn't mean to cut you off, but I did. No, the big thing was, because his suspension broke, right?
Right.
And so the suspension broke and it took out the fuel line. That's what started the fire. And as you saw, like in like Chelsea's video and some of the other videos, like, he went to pitch in, it loaded up that front wheel, which was damaged from the previous run. He put the load on that front wheel with the flick and the braking, and it broke the front wheel, and he went straight. And luckily, he didn't go like perpendicular to the wall because he wouldn't have been able to get out of his car.
Right.
Like he could barely get the door open as is, but you know, he's a little nimble guy and he was able to squeeze out. But like, dude, if that car was just like did like a typical drift crash where it just like beats the wall and just like drag down until it comes to a stop, like, dude, like, would he have been able to get out of his, you know, passenger side that quickly?
Right.
I
Or
think-
what would that flagman would have done, or what could he have
Well,
done?
yeah, I mean, like
Yeah.
You just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think
So-
I don't know if every driver practices egressing from the passenger side as well, which I think it's something that.
Good use of the word egress, Paco. Go on.
Thank you.
Yes.
And
Perfect.
funny thing, I was watching Ken Block on his video earlier today revealing his new livery, and he was talking about his racing suit, and on the shoulder pads, you know those things that look like wings on the shoulders. He was saying that those are actually handles.
Yeah.
That the safety people use to grab your suit and pull you out of the car. So
That's
I didn't
literally
know
what
that.
they're there for. They're to drag, you know, ideally not unconscious, but to help, you know, get a driver out of the car.
So, for example, imagine, you know, like and that's kind of one of the concerns. So, like, if the driver is on a car that's on fire, and the security guy tries to get into the car that's on fire, but he's not wearing fire.
Or has a fire extinguisher nearby.
Exactly. I mean, it seems like kind of like useless, you know, to have all these.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like this is the type of stuff that you'd see like in racing from like the 60s and 70s,
Yep.
and just not the type of situation we want to have now. Like drifting is so new and so just green to everything, where like we can't afford to have a situation like that. And so yeah, because like, you know, the cars are insane. They're all like, they're built in a pretty light atmosphere, you know, like that we don't have these like big crazy like Hendrick style programs. And even still, you know, like with that, like people make mistakes on that type of level. So just like imagine, you know, we've all seen, you know, like people taking videos of like sketchy situations of, you know, that of what people are doing with their cars and taking them out on track. And so what I'm saying is like, since the sport is so young and we like kind of like let some things slide here and there, it's like we need to, you know, we just need to be on our toes. And the fact that, yeah, like he was able to get out on the driver's side, and like, you know, it all worked out, but it was the closest we got to something really bad.
Yeah, I agree.
And also for the people who's listening, just so you guys know, the safety crew, the flaggers, the people that works on the track, they're not Formula Drift employees. They work for the track. Because I know like a lot of people was like kind of like trying to put this on Formula Drift like it is like they're the ones who weren't prepared. But this is the same people who work.
And that was like the other, like, I don't want to say the only reason why I was that vocal, but it's like, it's because they're ideally like seasoned with this. You know, they work the Grand Prix, they've been doing this for years. And so, you know, this isn't like us going to, you know, a random oval track in the middle of the country where, you know, it's like you got like two guys in a pickup truck. It was like, you know, a pretty well set up fire team. And maybe they just, you know, underestimated the, you know, the need for more crew, and they were just, you know, covering their bases for, you know, insurance purposes, like having like the one fire truck and the one ambulance like sitting over at the end of the track, like, oh, we'll get, you know, like if anything happens, we'll be fine. So we just saying, like, we don't need to beat it into the ground. It was just unfortunate to see it like be that bad, but like let's not let it get any worse than that.
Yeah. Moving on. Question from our buddy Momin from Australia. 2-part question. Best way to make a TT VQ, twin turbo VQ reliable. And are you going to Australia this year for WTAC? And also tell him thanks for the inspiration to start my own company when I met him 2 years ago.
Okay.
Cool. Well, the best way to make a reliable twin turbo car is just to put a Fast Intentions twin turbo kit on
There
it.
you go.
I have one on my demo car. The thing works perfect, and we now have one on the race car, and it works awesome. It's like a bit of a custom setup versus the off-the-shelf system, but there are now 80 twin turbo or Fast Intention twin turbo cars out there on the road, and they're among the most reliable high-power VQ cars because they have a package that they know works. They know how much power you can put through a factory engine. They sell the complete fuel system that goes into it, and so it's just a like one and done, like plug and play, almost to say, turbo system. They put out like 700 horsepower.
What would you
factory
recommend to be the highest PSIs to put on a stock VQ?
I would keep it under 16. Going over that, like you really need to have some sort of race gas situation. Even still, like at like 14, 15, you're getting into that territory. But it's just like anything. It depends on how hard you drive it. Like my demo car, I run that thing at 12 pounds because it's going to see that 12 psi a lot longer than someone who drives it on the street or down the drag strip. So it depends on how you drive it. Just you got to understand the amount of abuse that a turbo system can put on a car. And but yes, the factory engines have now been. There's multiple guys out there making 700 wheel horsepower on the factory VQs, and they're holding up and they're reliable. Would I do that endlessly on a drift car? No. Like I said, like mine's about like 550 wheel, and
Nice.
It's feels great and it's perfectly reliable.
Sam, you have any questions?
The second party says, "Are you going to WTAC?"
Oh yeah. I don't know. I don't believe so. We got to go 2 years ago, and that was super fun. It was a great event, and I got to run with the MCA guys. They had a 370Z there, and drove that for a little bit. It broke. It dropped a rod, went out the side, so I had to drive an S13 for the rest of the weekend, and it was a lot of fun. But I got knocked out first round. Oh, I had to run Daigo. We go through qualifying. I'm like, cool. I went all the way around the world to run Daigo, and he was in his car, and I was in like a borrowed S13 that was a little underpowered. So, I went out on that round, but it was fun. The event's very cool. The time attack guys down in Australia are out of their freaking minds. Like they're running some of the fastest cars in the world. The MCA guys with the Hammerhead and like the Porsche team and some of the other guys down there are like coming up on F1 times on that track. So not to say they're as fast as F1 cars, but they are like now breaking into that territory of like the fastest cars on that track that's not an F1 car.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah. it's
No
nuts.
more questions for me, but I was going to say, why don't you show us the progress of your motor swap?
Sure.
I guess we can call it that swap. Any more questions, other guys?
There's a very good one right here from Jeff.
Fire away.
From Jeff Sanders asking, "What's your favorite beef snack?"
Favorite
Good,
beef
very
snack?
good.
He's gonna be
dude,
disappointed.
Yeah, you're gonna be thoroughly disappointed. I haven't eaten beef or meat of any sort in over 3 years now. So
3 years.
Yep.
How long have you been without?
I've been doing a plant-based lifestyle, vegan style life since beginning of 2014. So,
Disgusting.
yeah,
Cor-
I know, right? Just
Corey-
eating dirt
Corey,
and
how
grass
long-
and anything else I can find, right?
Mostly dirt.
What's the last?
Just eat-
dirt.
Well, that's how you make chocolate milk, right? Is you get water and throw dirt in it. That's a
Yeah.
vegan
Chocolate milk.
That's what I heard. Little mud pie.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That'll get it done. But no, now that we're down here, here's the bros.
There you
So
go.
We got,
What's up, bros?
AJ and Dylan, who have been kindly
Hello.
still
They
working
just
on
threw up
the
gang
engine
signs. They
since
just threw up some
Sam
gang
came
signs.
and rudely interrupted us from getting our work
for
done.
Venice.
They threw
It's V for Venice.
But yeah, getting this thing tuned up, torqued up, and ready to drop back in. So yeah, this is the fresh motor that we got from AMS, and here's the all new Fast Intention twin turbo kit that's on there. So we have another kit. So the second engine's going to stay fully dressed, and that one's going to go swap onto this cart and be our display motor, backup motor. But yeah, we're going to have. Whoa, Sam,
Look
how
at
did
that,
you
look-
get here?
a wild Sam just.
But
appeared.
yeah, and so this one is pretty much ready to go. Bros are torquing down the intake manifold and getting that thing ready to drop back in. Got a fresh clutch on there. As we said, we don't want to have that issue again. So all new clutch package, new master, new slave, and everything else. the old engine, like I said, no issues with it. We just wanted to go through. It's a very healthy spare. We did a compression and leak down on it, and it's 100%. So it will be our spare motor, and we're going with the higher revving engine for the East Coast swing, and it's just starting fresh and make sure we're good to go. Sam never stops working. He's firing up cameras.
Oh, that's
So-
cool. So I got a
Why not,
question.
man?
Can you ask Dylan for me? Is he half torqued or fully torqued right now?
Yeah.
Dylan, you have torqued or fully torqued right now?
I'd say we're about fully torqued.
Oh,
Fully
not
torqued
bad.
already?
Cool.
Fully torqued.
It's only 10 o'clock.
19 whole pounds.
Wow.
At 10 o'clock, he's fully torqued.
Yeah.
That's I never met anybody like that before.
Give me that torque size.
Yeah. I didn't. 19, 19 that's impressive.
That's pretty wild. To be that
Yeah.
torqued at 10
One more
o'clock
time.
is pretty.
Yeah.
How many
But
how many NOS you drank
yeah,
today?
no, cars just chilling.
Oh, look at that thing.
Just waiting to get slung back in there. We just do the whole thing in from the bottom. We leave the engine on the subframe and just pull the suspension off and just shove it right up from the bottom. So it's just swap that back in there, and we should be pretty good to go. We got Tony back there. He's hiding, but Tony from Fast
Hi,
Intentions.
Tony.
He
Hey, Tony.
came by to drop off some parts for us that we were missing, and making sure that we are good and ready to go for the second half of, or not second half, for the second round.
50 weeks, Chris. We're still there.
50 weeks, man. 50
We're halfway
weeks we've
through
been doing
Formula
this thing.
Drift, and it's only been 50 weeks in, so we're
Nothing.
halfway.
Can't believe it.
We're halfway there. Well, I think it's safe to say that we appreciate you being on the first and 100th guest.
Our Centurion
Our
episode.
We appreciate you being our lab rat. We appreciate you doing everything that you do, and we will be seeing you in Orlando.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for the time. And
Hold on, I can't talk with my phone on.
oh yeah, okay. I'll move away. I gotta move away from Sam. He wants
Thank
to
you.
talk.
Yeah, we don't
God.
want to talk to him.
Before I can, apparently. He's got something to say.
Uh,
Wait, what? I'm leaving? I don't know what it's talking about.
yeah,
Yeah.
Sam's just an
Just
angry
ignore him.
old man. So
But yeah, no, it's wait, where? Oh, he is leaving. Okay, he's running away now.
oh God,
Bye, Sam.
is he gonna hop back on his mobile device or is he done?
I don't know.
I think he's going back to the pain cage.
Oh, I'm here. I just can't talk next to Chris with my microphone on because then it will sound like a terrible screeching noise in your ears.
Sounds
But
like
that's
a
what you
robot.
sound
wanna
like,
say-
Sam. It's always a
wanna
terrible
say-
screeching noise every time you talk, so it doesn't matter.
That's a good joke, Corey. Very good.
Drilling.
You're just hearing your own voice through my microphone.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it's doing.
Yep.
I got a quick question.
Well, I
about,
was gonna thank you for your time and thanks for being on our first and 100th episode, but I'd rather not at this point. So
No big deal. I think
get
Brian.
fucked.
I think Brian has a quick question. Brian.
Oh, we got one more for big
Sorry,
balls.
it's been
Oh, great. Here
bouncing in my
we go.
mind about the Fast Intentions twin turbo kit. The
Fast
the
Intentions.
versions of the VQs that kit works with, but that they're running the stock VQ blocks. Is that the DE like from back in 03? Would it work just as well with those, or do you have to go for the HR for like 2007 and newer?
Well, the kit is made off of the 370, so technically there
okay,
isn't
okay.
really a kit for the DE or the HRs. We run the HR motors because we don't want the variable lift in the heads, and so we technically have HR heads on the later style block, which gives us the 4-liter with the BC stroker kit. But the manifolds do bolt onto the HR heads, as you can see, they're on there, but it won't exactly fit into a 350 because all the piping and everything is made for a 370. So
Got it.
there is that. But so the 370 has the same engine all the way through from 2009 up until now, and those are the guys that are making up and over 700 wheel. The HRs are like I said, pretty much the same bottom end. In the 2008s, the later style, has like the dual intakes and everything else. Very, very similar. It's a nice strong motor, but it's not as I would say complex and or potentially reliable as the 370Z engine. So because they put a lot of effort into that head design where they can make a ton of power without putting too much strain on everything.
Got it.
But for us, we just rely on a little extra boost and some good flowing cams, and the non-variable lift heads, and just the variable duration cams.
On that, do you think there's any good solutions for 350Zs when it comes to adding more power with the stock block?
Say that again.
The 350Z, the VQs that came into with 350Zs, is there any decent kits that are available for those? Because those are the cars that most of the drifters are kind of picking up lately. I was just curious if there's anything you recommend.
There's I would stay away from some of the supercharger kits. I feel like, technically they can make power too. The biggest thing with a lot of the kits that people leave out is that they don't do a proper fuel system. And so when you start making that much extra power and you're just doing regulators and add-ons and things like that, like that's where you run into reliability issues. You have to do a proper tune, bigger injectors, bigger fuel pump, and things like that. So as long as you can find a kit that has all of that, then you should be good. I don't exactly know of a specific brand that has a really solid kit for the 350 that I'd want to put my name behind. So it's
gotcha.
There's definitely a couple options out for those. But like I said, the biggest issue is you got to work on the like a proper fuel system, because anyone can strap a turbo to a car, but it's about how it's managed.
True.
Got it.
Awesome. I didn't realize you knew this much about Z chassis, Chris. Pretty wild, man. Pretty wild stuff. Well, cool, dude. Big Balls had to drop the last questions on you. So
one more question.
Oh, go ahead, Sam.
What is drifting to you?
Why? Why do you do it?
Oh, here we go. Last one.
Here we fucking go. No, I don't care.
No, that's a great question, Sam. That's a great question. I agree. Let's go with it.
See, for me, it's the most fun you can have with a car. And that's kind of like where it really starts and ends. Like drifting it's so hard to explain to anybody unless you just take them to the track, put them in the car, and just like whip it along a wall, and it just blows their mind every single time. There's no real easy way to explain it or describe it. It's just like I said, it's an expression. It's a way of driving a car that is unlike anything else. And the Grand Prix is like a perfect example of that, because you have some of the biggest budgeted teams in the world coming out, and people are out there getting sunburned all day long, and just you feel like they would just be like over and ready to call it quits, but FD fires up at like 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, and the stands are packed, and people are just hooting, hollering, cheering, and yelling and screaming, and saying that it's some of the craziest driving they've ever seen, because it is.
Yep.
Yep.
So,
Well, big thanks to
that's why
the Drift.
enjoy it. It's a constant, just expression.
Yeah, and a big thanks to Formula Drift for letting the Grand Prix run on the Formula Drift course. Really appreciate it. And of course, thank you, Chris, for being our first and our 100th show, and for answering our stupid questions more times than those, and in between and all that. And
we'll see you in the 200th episode.
Yeah. And then 50 weeks from now.
Another 50 weeks.
Another 50 weeks.
Yep.
We'll be back on.
But let's, of course, thank everyone that has watched the show for all 100 episodes, or picked them up here and there in between, and for tolerating all of the bullshit. And, of course, thanks to our Patreons who have supported us from the start and continue to do so. And huge thanks to AM Intakes for being one of our first and most major sponsors behind us. Motegi Racing, Nexen Tire. That's a Chris sponsor too. Chris,
Yeah, we share two sponsors with Forsberg.
And Nexen Tire with us.
Yep, AM and
Sure
Nexen,
can.
Forsberg. It's good enough for Forsberg. It's good enough for Driftcast.
That's what I'm putting
God
on
dang
my
it.
76
That's
El
what
Camino.
I'm
I'm trying to
saying.
tell you.
And yeah, anything else, boys?
No, I mean,
That's it.
just good luck. We'll see you in Orlando.
Yep.
All right.
And
I'll see you guys there.
can't wait to see you ripping.
Yeah,
See
man.
you guys
Looking forward
there.
to it.
See you
All
guys
right.
next Tuesday.
All right, guys.
I'll see you in a minute, Sam.
Send
See
you
in a
guys,
minute, Chris.
send us away.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. The end.
The end.
Adios.
Bye, guys.
And then Sam goes away.
So Sam's still here. Forsberg's
still
gone.
here. I'm
So
still
can we
here.
talk shit now or what?
Oh, I hate that guy.
Can we talk some shit on that guy?
Forsberg's gone. Yeah, I can talk right next to Forsberg. Yeah, we got hang
Oh,
out.
hi, I'm back.
Oh, fuck.
God damn it.
This is the talking
worst,
shit segment.
Worst guest, first guest.
Worst
What
guest
I
for the
always
first
say.
guest. Last guest is the worst guest.
He's big stink face.
All right, let's end on that note.
Yeah,
Sam,
that
thanks. So Sam, thank you for everything.
Are we still live?
Yeah,
Nope,
except
but we're
it sounds
about
like
to-
it sounds
yep.
like you're talking into like a
Like
that-
robot.
What was that one microphone thing that Sam had at his house?
The bass flute.
No, the microphone had. You can change the audio. To
Oh,
a
that's
robot.
right. We have it
We
here.
have it here.
Yeah, we'll bring it on the next
Oh
episode.
God, we got to find that. I'll show
Yeah.
you guys exactly what it is. But anyways, once again, thank you guys for tuning in for the 100th episode of Maximum Driftcast. Thank you, Motegi Racing. Thank you, Nex and Tire. Thank you, AM Intakes, and of course all the
No, that
Patreons.
was the auto tuner.
Yes.
Yeah, you
Welcome
touched
back,
the
Sam.
auto-tuner.
Welcome back,
Welcome
Sam.
back, Sam.
A minute ago.
This is our third wrap up. But anyways, guys, we will be in Orlando for you see us out there.
100 episodes.
100 episodes in.
All right.
Bye, Sam. Brian, can you hang up on Sam
Bye, guys.
already? Hang up on him. He's
Bye.
Bye.
there
you go.
Oh,
Thank you.
God.
All right. Now, okay. High five for 100
High five,
episodes.
100 episodes. Ouch.
Good job,
God,
Corey.
Good job. Good
Good
job.
job.
Big balls. I'm gonna-
Brian.
Brian's only on episode
Brian's going to
40
give us a hang
46.
five, a shaka.
Brian's only on episode 46, so he has another 50.
No, like 6 more to the 50 weeks.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
4 more. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
So you're almost there, Brian.
I'm almost there.
But you've been with us in our little baby hearts,
Yeah.
all 100. So,
All right.
anyways, guys, thank you. We'll see you later. See you next week. See you in Orlando. And thank you guys for always tuning in and being
Have
part
a
of
good
Driftcast.
night.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Wait. Oh, yeah.
There you